From the throne of eternity, Jehovah has looked down upon every king that has reigned, every parliament that has ever convened, every army that has marched, and every navy that has sailed. And yet, none of them, not one, has impacted humanity like the one he sent. He had no palace, he commanded no army, he authored no book, he held no political office. Yet the course of history was forever altered by his words alone. He is called Rabbi, Teacher, Instructor, Master, and he is the only one of whom it is written. The crowds were astounded at his way of teaching, for he was teaching them as a person having authority. Matthew 7:28 and 29, from the synagogues of Galilee. Matthew 4:23, to the shores of the sea. Mark 4:1, from the dusty roads between villages. Luke 13:22, to the temple courts of Jerusalem. Luke 19:47. He taught with divine insight and unmatched compassion. He opened his mouth, and eternal truths poured forth. He spoke, and demons fled. He reasoned, and even his enemies marveled. They said, "Never has any man spoken like this." John 7:46. Rabbi, we know you have come from God as a teacher. John 3:2. You speak and teach correctly. You teach the way of God in line with truth. Luke 20:21. He was the teacher of the multitudes, feeding their minds and their bodies. He was the teacher of the lowly, elevating the poor, healing the blind, raising the dead. He was the teacher of the faithful, drawing them closer to Jehovah, the true God. And still, he is the teacher of you and me, inviting us to sit at his feet and learn the ways that lead to life. He taught in parables, in power, in prophecy, in patience, and in pain. He taught with tears, he taught with blood. And in his final act of love, he taught what it means to serve, saying, "If I, the Lord and teacher, washed your feet, you also should wash the feet of one another." John 13:14. So, who is the greatest teacher in history? Not Caesar, not Solomon, not Socrates, but the one sent from heaven, the Son of God, the Word made flesh, Jesus Christ. He is the teacher still calling your name. Will you listen? Then he went throughout the whole of Galilee, teaching in their synagogues. Matthew chapter 4, verse 23. Then he opened his mouth and began teaching them. Matthew chapter 5, verse 2. The crowds were astounded at his way of teaching, for he was teaching them as a person having authority. Matthew chapter 7, verses 28 and 29. A scribe came up and said to him, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Matthew chapter 8, verse 19. And Jesus set out on a tour of all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues. Matthew chapter 9, verse 35. Teacher, we want to see a sign from you. Matthew chapter 12, verse 38. He began to teach them in their synagogue. Matthew chapter 13, verse 54. Does your teacher not pay the 2 drachmas tax? Matthew chapter 17, verse 24. Teacher, what must I do to gain everlasting life? Matthew chapter 19, verse 16. Chief priests and the elders of the people came up to him while he was teaching. Matthew chapter 21, verse 23. The Sadducees came and asked him, Teacher Moses said. Matthew chapter 22, verse 34. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Matthew chapter 22, verse 36. But you, do not you be called Rabbi, for one is your teacher. Matthew chapter 23, verse 8. He said, Go into the city to so-and-so and say to him, the teacher says, Matthew chapter 26, verse 18. Judas, who was about to betray him, replied, It is not I, is it, Rabbi? Matthew chapter 26, verse 25. Teaching them to observe all the things I've commanded you. Matthew chapter 28, verse 20. They were astounded at his way of teaching. Mark chapter 1, verse 22. The people were all astonished, saying, What is this? A new way of teaching? Mark chapter 1, verse 27. All the crowd kept coming to him, and he began to teach them. Mark chapter 2, verse 13. Again he began teaching beside the sea, and he began to teach them many things. Mark chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. Teacher, Do you not care that we are about to perish? Mark chapter 4, verse 38. Your daughter has died. Why bother the teacher any longer? Mark chapter 5, verse 35. When it was the Sabbath, he started teaching in the synagogue. Mark chapter 6, verse 2. And he went around in a circuit to the villages, teaching. Mark chapter 6, verse 6. And he started to teach them many things. Mark chapter 6, verse 34. Also he began teaching them that the Son of Man must undergo many sufferings. Mark chapter 8, verse 31. Teacher, I brought my son to you because he has a speechless spirit. Mark chapter 9, verse 17. Teacher, we saw someone expelling demons by using your name. Mark chapter 9, verse 38. As he was accustomed to do, he again began teaching them. Mark chapter 10, verse 1. Good teacher, what must I do to inherit everlasting life? Mark chapter 10, verse 17. The blind man said to him, Rabboni, let me recover my sight. Mark chapter 10, verse 51. He was teaching and saying to them, Is it not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all the nations? Mark chapter 11, verse 17. Peter, remembering it, said to him, Rabbi, see, the fig tree that you cursed has withered. Mark chapter 11, verse 21. Teacher, we know you are truthful and you do not seek anyone's favor. Mark chapter 12, verse 14. Teacher, Moses wrote us. Mark chapter 12, verse 18. The scribe said to him, Teacher, you spoke well in line with truth. Mark chapter 12, verse 32. And in his teaching he went on to say, Mark chapter 12, verse 38. Teacher, see what wonderful stones and buildings. Mark chapter 13, verse 1. Day after day I was with you in the temple teaching. Mark chapter 14, verse 49. And he was teaching them on the Sabbath, and they were astounded at his way of teaching because he spoke with authority. Luke chapter 4, verses 31 and 32. Then he sat down, and he began teaching the crowds from the boat. Luke chapter 5, verse 3. On one of the days while he was teaching, Luke chapter 5, verse 17, on another Sabbath he entered the synagogue and began teaching. Luke chapter 6, verse 6. A student is not above his teacher, but everyone who is perfectly instructed will be like his teacher. Luke chapter 6, verse 40. Jesus said to him, "Simon, I have something to say to you." He said, "Teacher, say it." Luke chapter 7, verse 40. The officers replied, "Never has any man spoken like this." Luke chapter 7, verse 46. So they went and woke him up, saying, "Instructor, instructor, we are about to perish." Luke chapter 8, verse 24. Your daughter has died. Do not bother the teacher any longer. Luke chapter 8, verse 49. And he received them kindly and began to speak to them about the kingdom of God. Luke chapter 9, verse 11. Peter said to Jesus, "Instructor, it is fine for us to be here." Luke chapter 9, verse 33. "Teacher, I beg you to take a look at my son." Luke chapter 9, verse 38. "Teacher, what do I need to do to inherit everlasting life?" Luke chapter 10, verse 25. Mary sat down at the feet of the Lord and kept listening to what he was saying. Luke chapter 10, verse 39. Lord, teach us how to pray. Luke chapter 11, verse 1. Teacher, in saying these things you insult us also. Luke chapter 11, verse 45. Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. Luke chapter 12, verse 13. Now he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. Luke chapter 13, verse 10. And he travelled from city to city and village to village, teaching and continuing on his journey. Luke chapter 13, verse 22. Good teacher, what must I do to inherit everlasting life? Luke chapter 18, verse 18. Teacher, rebuke your disciples. Luke chapter 19, verse 39. He continued teaching daily in the temple. Luke chapter 19, verse 47. On one of the days while he was teaching the people, Luke chapter 20, verse 1. Teacher, we know you speak and teach correctly and show no partiality, but you teach the way of God in line with truth. Luke chapter 20, verse 21. Teacher, Moses wrote us. Luke chapter 20, verse 28. In response, some of the scribes said, Teacher, you spoke well. Luke chapter 20, verse 39. Teacher, when will these things actually be, and what will be the sign when these things are to occur? Luke chapter 21, verse 7. So by day he would be teaching in the temple. Luke chapter 21, verse 37. And say to the landlord of the house, The teacher says to you, Where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples? Luke chapter 22, verse 11. They said to him, Rabbi, which means when translated, teacher. John chapter 1, verse 38. Rabbi, we know you have come from God as a teacher. John chapter 3, verse 2. Meanwhile, the disciples were urging him, Rabbi, eat. John chapter 4, verse 31. When they found him across the sea, they said to him, Rabbi, when did you get here? John chapter 6, verse 25. When the festival was half over, Jesus went up into the temple and began teaching. John chapter 7, verse 16. Then, as he was teaching in the temple, Jesus called out, You know me, and you know where I am from. John chapter 7, verse 28. But just as the Father taught me, I speak these things. John chapter 8, verse 28. And his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, so that he was born blind? John chapter 9, verse 2. The teacher is here and is calling you. John chapter 11, verse 28. You address me as teacher and Lord, and you are correct, for I am such. John chapter 13, verse 13. Therefore, if I, the Lord and teacher, washed your feet, you also should wash the feet of one another. John chapter 13, verse 14. Jesus said to her, Mary! On turning around, she said to him in Hebrew, Rabboni, which means teacher. John chapter 20, verse 16. From the heavens, Jehovah bears witness. No one has ever taught like his Son. Not a general commanding legions, not a statesman stirring nations, not a scholar filling volumes, but a man who walked dusty roads, who opened his mouth and taught with the wisdom of heaven. His words did not fade with the wind. They pierced hearts, calmed storms, cast out demons, raised the dead, and offered eternal life. The crowds were astonished. The teachers of the law were silenced. The sinners were healed, the broken were restored. Teacher, what must I do to inherit everlasting life? They asked. Lord, teach us how to pray, they pleaded. Rabbi, we know you have come from God, they declared. Never has any man spoken like this, even his enemies confessed. He taught in fields, on boats, in synagogues, temples, homes, and hearts. He taught with stories, with questions, with silence, with blood. And finally, as the nails pierced his hands, he taught the world what it means to love without limit. And when he rose from the grave, his final charge echoed through time. Go, teaching them to observe all the things I have commanded you. Matthew 28:20. This is not merely history. This is not religion. This is the voice of the greatest teacher in all eternity, still calling. The teacher is here and is calling you. John 11:28. More powerful than all the armies that have marched, more influential than all the kings that have reigned, more enduring than any voice to ever echo across the earth, is the voice of Jesus Christ, the Master Teacher. Will you follow him? Will you sit at his feet as Mary did, and let the Word teach you the way to life? For there is only one teacher, and he is calling your name.